out of life. Are you satisfied, fulfilled, happy?
There were 15 murders the first week and 21 last week in this city.
I'm sorry. She died a few minutes ago, Mr. Kersey.
Any chance of catching these men?
What's she gaining on you, Paul?
Welcome to Fanboy and the Snob. I'm Chad. That's Chris, and today we watched the 1974 movie Death Wish.
Sorry,
Charles Bronson,
and no one else.
Hope Lange.
No, don't bother. Just Charles Bronson. Everyone knows it's Charles Bronson.
So why we watch this movie? But let's tell them the short story.
The long story short is we were gonna watch Ernest Goes to Africa, but Chad's scared of offending the Jewish community, so we're not allowed to watch it. So then we were gonna watch Come and See, but Chad was scared of offending the Jewish community, so we didn't watch it. So then we tried to watch Bridge Over the River Kwai, and Chad was okay with offending the Jewish community that time, but the movie didn't work. So
yeah, that was really disappointing.
So we settled on Death Wish. Because
Hmm.
I was like, hey, you seen this? And you said no. And I went, okay, here we go.
It was late, probably
Yeah.
like an hour and a half.
Hour and a half later than we usually start.
So yeah, and guess what?
Fucking liked it, right?
Fucking very pleasant surprise, because the way people talked about it, which I think they're more referencing the
2,
sequels.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a legit movie.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It's fun. Go on.
Thanks for watching.
All right.
So the plot's simple. Guy's wife gets killed.
He's a liberal.
Yeah, he starts out as
He's an upper middle class dude. Makes a lot of money.
Hmm.
Works for what, real estate firm or something?
Yeah.
Zoning firm.
They buy properties.
Housing
and-
development
yeah.
bullshit. Making millions. Bronson comes back from Hawaii after a fucking lame ass vacation on a soundstage, and
It's trying to show how happy him and his wife are. How
which
much they
they're
love
very
each other.
happy.
And this movie starts out as like a kind of typical 70s like love story type movie.
I
Then
wouldn't
it's
say love
no,
story at all.
no, the soundtrack, the way they film the soundtrack.
It's a
and
70s
everything.
like porno soundtrack. Yeah, it's fucking rad.
Then as the movie goes on, as it starts going more into
It's
the
still
story,
a porno soundtrack through the entire
No,
movie. Boom,
the-
bam,
the
boom,
beginning
boom,
of the
bam,
movie
boom,
had a
boom,
different
bam, boom.
tone to the soundtrack.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the guy riding the hi-hats. Yeah, what's that? And then that whip, woo, woo.
So I think, what's his name from the Mighty Boosh?
A spirit jazz.
Poor Spirit Jazz. Anyway, so it tries to put forward that
Why the fuck didn't you tell me my hat was on fire? God damn it. I show my hat on fire. You don't say anything? Well, we thought it was part of your. No!
What's wrong with you? Are you blind?
No! God fucking damn it. It's such a good joke.
So it starts out with them.
Coming back from Hawaii, New York's a shithole. They're on the George Washington Bridge. They're super pissed about it. Then they go to the office. The husband goes to the office. Charles Bronson goes to the office. Meets his coworkers. They have an interesting conversation about crime statistics that Chad doesn't want me to bring up. Then cuts to the wife and the daughter shopping
At the grocery store.
and they do this weird ass pickup thing where you buy everything and then you give it to someone and go deliver it to my house. Bitch,
Well,
you did.
were they driving? I think they were just walking. So they
Point
probably-
being, you were halfway through the operation and then you gave up.
That's how it was back then.
I guess, but then
Back
Jeff,
then, grocery stores used to, like, Publix is
right?
probably the
But
closest
then
we got to.
Dr. Malcolm sees her address and decides,
With a young
love will find
Goldblum.
a way, and he breaks into her house and
He is super fucking creepy and when he was
He's
younger.
so
man.
good in
He's
this
so
movie.
lanky, the facial expressions and
well, he's a
everything.
typical like, Brooklyn dude, you know?
Yeah,
So-
but so as they're leaving, these three criminals notice the delivery slip with the address, and they see him leave. They're like, they're fairly attractive.
No, they wanted money.
Yeah.
They saw them as rich people that can afford to have their groceries delivered to them.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're just gonna go rob them.
And what happens when they break in?
Well, the mom only has $3 and
Daughter has like 4.
and 2 bits, and they're like, that's not enough money. So they beat the shit out of the mom, beat her to death, and they rape the daughter in the mouth and
spray
ass.
paint her butt.
Yeah, they rape her, and they do not pull punches. Well, they pull punches. It could have been irreversible, but they decided not to go that hard. So, but still, for a 70s flick, like Hitchcock showed a toilet flushing maybe 15 years before this, and everyone was outraged. Jaws made people leave the theater.
Yeah, but I Spit on Your Grave came out in the 70s.
Right, that's totally different though. That wasn't wide release film. Yeah, so what happens for the rest of the movie? It's just Charles Bronson setting up situations for him to shoot people.
Yeah. So,
It's pretty fucking rad.
yeah. So all of that happened at the beginning of the movie is just
It's the fucking
quickly done to get to the fun.
I wouldn't say the fun, but the plot. It gets to the meat. It's a 3-act story. First act, here's the rape. Second act,
Him
fucking
terms.
people up, and then third act is him realizing he's in a little bit over his head.
Yeah. He does start getting a little cocky.
Right. The last couple shootouts, like the one on the subway and stuff, he's a little cocky.
Well, I think at that point he's like, I am an ace shooter, because he has to take after the wife become murdered, and he has a little bit of time to mourn. His job sends him down to what?
Santa Fe,
So
New Mexico.
It wasn't New Mexico, it was Arizona.
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
They were in Arizona.
Whatever.
You fuck. So they go to Arizona. He meets with a client because they want to buy potential land. He doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't want to get rid of the hills.
Mhm.
But the guy takes him to a club. What kind of club was it?
Gun club.
Yeah.
Really, the big difference between Amish or Amish or Ames or whatever his name was and the New York counterpart is so the original plan is just to bulldoze everything and build a city.
Yeah.
And Ames is like, what's the fucking point? You know, people won't be able to live with so many people so close by. And when you first introduced to him, he's a cowboy and he drives a car with cow horns on it. And you're like, what a douchebag. And then you get to know him. You're like, oh, he's a fucking cool dude.
Yeah. The whole point is they're like, look at all that wasted space. I'm like, yeah, but it's like character.
Pretty.
It's pretty. It's
Yeah, I like it.
These families are going to have places to go and stuff.
Yeah. And then when he goes back to New York after Santa Fe, his boss is like, oh, Santa Fe looks good on you. And he's like, thanks, boss. And his boss goes, so how you doing? And he goes, well, you know, I'm not doing. And then the boss is already out. So it's like, yeah, fuck the city. Yeah.
It is funny that a silly movie like this has like a lot of like cultural like.
No, the problem is it was a silly movie 10 years ago, but now it's like shit. Idiocracy wasn't supposed to be a documentary.
We got the monetization of like everything, just tearing everything down just to build up.
It's the dissolution of the nuclear family. It's a downward spiral. Society is collapsing in on itself because we refuse to police crime. And that's what this movie is about.
Well, that's what the later half is. I'm talking about more with the Tex guy and everything. The cowboy.
Well,
guy.
the Texas guy says a very cool thing at the gun club.
Yeah.
He's like, the reason we don't have muggings here is because everyone's armed. You fucking pull a gun on someone else and 3 people are going to pull a gun on you.
Yeah.
So no point. No point. Whereas in New York, no one has fucking guns except for the fucking criminals. And then the one time some guy has a gun and decides to do something, fucking media praises him, cops go after him, and then people start standing up for themselves again.
Yeah, sadly that can't work nowadays though.
Well, Rittenhouse. I don't want to get political, but
it's not even being political. It's just like anytime somebody defends himself now,
they get demonized. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a silly thing. Like, I don't know.
You're just supposed to let the rape happen. Just let it happen.
Well, that's the problem now. Like, plenty of times, like you see stuff happening in real life, and you just have the people looking away, holding the newspaper,
pulling up their cameras.
Yeah,
that's what it is now.
Well, yeah, back.
See, in the movie, it was people pulling up their newspapers. Nowadays, it's people recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that.
This movie is poignant. This movie, I went into it being like, dude, we're gonna watch a cool action movie with people, and then we're sitting here being like, social commentary.
Yeah, but it wasn't ham-fisted. It's
no,
just like it's very subtle the way they do it.
I wouldn't say subtle, but it was appropriate.
Yeah,
because spray painting a girl's ass with a bullseye, it's kind of telling you that's as subtle as a meat cleaver. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, the swastika wasn't very subtle.
Yeah, I know.
Not that scene, but everything else, like the conversations.
Yeah.
You could say.
Oops! Look what I'm doing.
I hated that guy. He was probably the worst.
Jeff Goldblum's character was creepy.
Yeah. Then he had to
He never
escape.
got his comeuppance.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised by that.
Well, it makes sense. He was just a random criminal.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this, is he was just killing random.
And it's also an older movie. It's not like Moon now where they have like the great revenge scene and everything.
No, back then, before this, every scene needed to make sense. That's why movies were 3 hours long.
Yeah. I thought they were just gonna have a random encounter.
No, he just raped his daughter and moved on.
So throughout the movie, let's talk about the first time he did it.
First murder,
Yeah.
or the first time he fought back
First time he fought back.
with a $20 in quarters and a sock.
Yeah, because he goes to the bank and he gets quarters, and then you see him in his office with a sock and he puts them in there. And he's like, oh, is he scared? Is he just like, or does he want to do something? I think at that point, at that point, it's a little bit of both.
So he's just walking home and he decides, I'm going to walk through the bad area of town just to see what happens.
And guess what happened?
Gets into a fucking guy, pulls a knife on him.
He quickly turns around, just
Smack across the face.
Then he goes home and panics. And
Guy goes down and runs away.
Yeah.
And Charles sits there going, oh shit, I can fight back.
But then he goes home and
pours himself a drink.
Yeah.
He's like going between like super excited to what did I fucking do?
Then that escalates because then what was the first scene when he actually shot somebody? I can't remember.
When the guy, they're by the water.
Yeah.
And the 5-time felon pulls a gun on him and he just turns around and hip fires him. And then you see the guy writhing on the ground and Charles is watching him die stone faced.
Yeah. And then when he gets home that time, he gets on the ground and has a little panic attack, starts kind of sobbing.
Because he murdered someone.
Yeah. I don't know how I'd react. How would you react?
Probably the exact same way. It just took a human life. I feel bad. Remember when I stepped on that mouse and I was like fucked up?
I'd say I went to biomes and I'm like, fucking poor turtle.
No, they deserve it. But when I stepped on that, it was a wild mouse. It's a big difference. I stepped on a wild mouse and I was fucked up for
This
like.
could be wild turtles.
No, there's no such thing as a wild turtle anymore. They can't live in with the amount of plastic and predators. Chinese people.
But throughout the movie, he just comes with new creative ways to kill people. Like when he's on
the fake pocket.
Yeah. Or when he's on the subway.
Yeah, that's the fake pocket where he's like, he reaches into his pocket and then it's just ga. From the hip.
See, what is your opinion on like vigilantism and all that? Do you
now
believe in it up to a point?
As a person who believes societies can only function within strict law, as a fascist, I believe vigilantism is wrong. But if you live in a society where the powers that be refuse to uphold the law, I guess it's up to you.
Yeah. But even at that point, it was just so like rampant with the crime.
But it is now. We just live in the suburbs. We don't live in Detroit.
Yeah.
There's 100 murders every week in Detroit. Remember how they were like, dude, there was 20 murders last month in New York. That's insane.
Well, that's why we're saying like people just hiding their heads. Nobody's helping anybody anymore.
Because we were told not to.
So you think this movie has a point?
Either fund the police to the extreme or do it yourself. Because crime ain't going away unless you do something.
Yeah.
That's my firm belief. I don't commit crime. Like real crime. I don't hurt nobody.
Yeah. We don't steal. We don't hurt anybody.
We're nice.
Weed's legal now, so
what
crimes do we do?
And yet there's people out there sticking each other up for a couple dollars. It's like, what's the
Yeah.
fucking point, man?
That has a lot to say about the country we live in. Like,
well, you know,
we shouldn't be having these people.
The most the favorite celebrities and stuff like that are criminals. You know, they're all pedophiles, rapists, and stuff like that.
Well, that's more. Those are two different sides of the coin.
I mean,
you have the people out there that think they need to rob people and do all
because
that,
music and television and movies tell them to,
and because they need money and all that stuff.
But why do they need money?
But then it
Like, just get a job. Everywhere is hiring.
Yeah.
Like at this point, the whole idea, like in the 90s when everything was great, I could totally use someone being like, dude, I can't get hired. You know, But now it's like everybody, you can get hired. I get hired. I have a job. The fuck's your excuse?
It's gotten to a point where you put in your application, you get called how soon?
A half hour after I did it.
Yeah.
and they
It's just
already,
like,
and they went, "You're hired. We just need you to sign something." Like I didn't even.
I do think it's silly, people. And there's the argument they can't find transportation, everything, and
Uber.
all that. But
Walk, bitch. Take a subway.
I do think the bus needs to be a little more friendly towards people.
You know, be sick is if people pay their taxes, so the buses would be rad, like that bus in New York.
That was a cool bus.
Yeah, if people paid their taxes, things would be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And again, I think taxation is theft in all forms, but this system, yes, this system runs on taxes. So, like, if I'm doing it, you should be fucking doing it.
I feel like taxes should be looked at more, and you're giving into your community
Right.
to make things better.
But
But
your
it
tax-
doesn't. It doesn't work like that
No. And
because most of your tax money doesn't go towards the community and everything. Yeah. What'd you think of the police chief?
at first, we didn't like him.
At first, he seems like a slime ball because he's always like coughing. He's always wiping his nose. They gave him that like,
And he's doing his job. At first, we think he's like, we need to catch this vigilante. I want you to start with Vietnam vets living in New York, then Korean vets, then World War II. And then someone's like, oh, that's bullshit. And he goes, exactly. It seems impossible, but at least what? And you're thinking like, this guy's just a hard ass, but you don't realize what he's doing. He's bogging them down. He's making them research shit they don't have to still let the vigilante keep doing. So what do you think about the police chief character?
now he's probably one of the more interesting characters actually throughout the movie because at
In
first
terms of
you
depth and growth.
yeah, because at first you look at him and you're like, he's like gross. He's wiping his nose all the time, coughing. He's just
And he's working actively against the vigilante.
yeah. In our minds of when vigilantes and everything, it's like, oh, he's a bad guy, blah blah blah. But then as he's going, he's having a meeting with the whole police station, being like, we need to find this guy. You need to research him. You need to find out who in that area used to be in the army, like what
Was it
Korean
Korean
War?
vet?
No, they said the Vietnam War first because they're big, bulky guys.
No, it was Vietnam, then it was Korea, then it was World War II. That's like fucking 800,000 people.
And he just have one person in the police go, what?
Like that's bullshit. He's like, exactly. And it seems impossible and it's gonna take a lot of time, but at least we'll be able to tell the press we're doing something, which makes you think, oh, he's working against the vigilante. But then by the end of the movie, you realize he's
Yeah.
fucking,
And I like at that point, it's just like, is he just giving them busy work to make it?
which is exactly what he's
But
doing.
in his head, no, I feel like
That's
like,
what he's
this is
doing.
the best way to catch him.
No, I think he's going, oh, this vigilante's awesome because it's making the people fight back and it's making crime go away. But I have a badge. He is breaking the law, so here's a bunch of hoops to jump through. Because remember, he warns him.
Yeah.
He calls him and he goes, hey, listen, the police are about to search you.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, spoilers to the end, Charles Bronson actually gets shot.
And he's
He
in the
gets a
hospital.
little too cocky. He doesn't position himself.
Yeah, he
correctly.
winds up getting, he
Yeah.
tries to jump two dudes and he gets jumped.
Yeah, 'cause one guy ends up coming to the top of the stairs with an actual gun.
Yeah, so at first you think it's two people. He's pointing the gun at them, and then a third guy shows up, and a gunfight ensues. He gets the two, but the gunman walks away. And he's in the hospital, and the police chief shows up, and he's like, so, Mr. John Doe, if you happen to be Charles Branson, I would tell you that although legally speaking, I disapprove, what you did was awesome. And if you got out of New York City, I could drop this. And he holds up the gun.
Well, you're also forgetting he's like, he pretty much said, I told you, I warned
Yeah.
you, and you
I've been
just
helping
stopped.
you out. Yeah. So if you go to a different city, I'll ditch this.
Yeah,
in the
I'm gonna throw it
fucking
in
river.
the river. That's why I'm saying, like, he got a little too ahead of himself.
Mhm. So how's it end?
Well, obviously, he chooses the right decision. Where does he go? Detroit,
Chicago.
Chicago. He goes to Chicago,
Chirac.
and he's talking to the guy. He meets him there, and he sees
A woman getting harassed by like 5 dudes.
Yeah. So he goes, helps the women, and the 5 dudes just laughing at him. He just goes,
No, he does.
Yeah. And it ends. And I feel like that was the perfect ending. to
Because you know the
Flash.
second one is just
Hmm.
he's not giving up. He's Batman now.
See, I would have been fine if that was just the
Hmm.
end of it. Because that was actually a very
Well,
good.
what happened is a separate studio owned this one, right? Whatever. A second studio or a studio produced this movie, right?
Mhm.
Then Canon Films bought the rights and made like 6 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Canon Films.
Yeah. But I
What
don't
do you
know.
think of the action in this movie?
It was actually very well choreographed.
Very realistic.
Yeah. Like it was quick.
Just
And the actors were great. Like we were joking the scene when he goes to Arkansas.
Santa Fe.
What he goes to wherever, and he goes to a little western town. Because that was the big thing about the town they were in. He's like, well, we got to keep this because.
Because look at it, it's cool.
And then you see the actors like portraying like a gunfight and everything between the sheriff and the bad
But
guy.
did you see how Charles Bronson came up with the idea to play the victim to get the person to attack him to fight back? Is by watching that.
Those guys are awesome. Those are some good stunts.
Good stuntman.
Yeah.
Like diving off the roof, falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuntmen in this movie.
That's what I'm saying. The reactions, because this is back when they had like the character actors that literally just did those type of roles.
Just the first guy he shoots in the stomach, and he's like, and then he coughs up the blood, and he's still writhing because like a gut shot doesn't kill you instantly; it takes a while.
Yeah. Oh, this was good. The older movies knew what's up because, like I said, there were actors that literally just played those parts.
Okay, so final thought: Death Wish, 1970, fucking 2. I thought it was
74.
2. Oh, that was when the novel came out.
Yeah.
All right, 74. Final thought.
Soundtrack was fun.
Soundtrack was awesome.
Acting was good.
Herbie Hancock did the soundtrack. That's why it was rad.
Charles Bronson was great. He became very like
He started
towards-
off bullshit. And then in the middle, when he was broken, you were like, "Oh, I feel bad for this guy." And
then
then
he just became like very dark. Like he had the black suit on. Just
and then he
walking.
got a little too cocksure.
Yeah.
He had a good character arc.
Yeah. And I guess in the sequels he just goes ham.
There's a scene where him and his fucking Korean War buddy are holding a
Oh, it's
30,
a buddy.
30 millimeter, like, you know, like it has the wide thing and then the box and you feel the bullets into it. And he's holding it like this in the middle of the street while his friend is feeding him machine gun ammo and he's just mowing down gangsters.
And that's the second one.
That's the third or fourth one.
Uh,
The fourth one, I think, ends with him blowing up the main villain with a bazooka. Yeah, it just goes.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
so that's why I think these are like totally.
This
different.
one is the most grounded and coolest.
Yeah.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah. No, this is actually like really good.
I'm glad you were into it because
Yeah.
you weren't sold when I put it on.
Because they've remade it with Bruce Willis. I heard the synopsis of the Bruce Willis movie, and I'm like, yeah, but it's probably gonna be those muchacho kind of like bro, like heavy-handed, like the guy's invincible. Just
But
killing
all
people.
those like bro muchacho, like they were all influenced from these movies before where it was
Yeah.
like the common man standing up. That's what makes Die Hard so much fun. He's just a regular cop who
Yeah.
like gets in the zone. This is just an architect who gets in the fucking zone. It's fun. Rambo is like a fucking serial killer, but he doesn't want to be a serial killer. That's what makes him cool. He came back from Vietnam. He was done.
Yeah.
That
Where you
cop,
have Commando, and he just loves killing people.
yeah, he just fucking, what does he do? The guy's like, I have your daughter. I know. And he shoots him in the head. And it's like, you don't even want to hear. Like, you don't care. You just know he's got him and you're going to just kill everyone until you get him back.
No, but yeah, it was
Great
fun. It was,
movie.
yeah.
Charles Branson is not an action star. They tried to turn him into one. He's like a good dramatic actor.
Yeah.
Not good like Willem Dafoe, but he's good. I wouldn't give him a Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, but the characterization, like the characters are written very
He-
well. Even the son-in-law,
he played
always
the
called him
character.
dad.
That made me uncomfortable. Not my kid.
No.
It's like when I was
And you got to remember though, when he took the phone call, he's like, "Oh, it's just my son-in-law." So obviously, there's a little.
no, he said it's my son.
He said son-in-law.
I didn't hear son-in-law until he was talking to the police.
I'm pretty sure when he first brought him up, he said
I'm
something.
pretty sure the
like,
lady said, "It's your son."
"Hmm."
And he went, "I'll take this." And then he, what's going on? Hey, my wife and your wife, they got raped. Oh no. What's the Seinfeld bass jingle?
I fucking hate Seinfeld.
But Kramer, they raped my wife.
They won't get away with it, Jerry.
That's it, Jerry. They're gonna pay.
What's with all the murders?
What's the deal with rape? And then Elaine's like, "Well, I haven't been raped." And then Kramer's like, just rapes her while screaming the N-word.
Who's the guy who plays the mailman?
Newman.
He's just like, oh,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Newman stalks. That's the unwritten episode. Is Newman stalking Elaine to her house and raping her? And Kramer sees it and he wants to keep it a secret. And then George figures it out. But
That'd be
George...
the best reason if for some reason the character is written off the show. You just
Oh, he raped Elaine. Whoa! Season 7 was weird. Like the rest of the show, she's like a broken woman. Like her hair's falling out. She's chewing her nails.